4, 3, 2, 1. Walk with me through the cellar door.
A storm is coming, Francis.
A portal to a more skeptical world.
Cellar Door Skeptics begins right now. Prepare for the revolution with your hosts, Christopher Tanner and Chris Hanna.
Welcome to another episode of Cellar Door Skeptics. Tonight is bringing back our series that we did a couple of years ago where we interviewed local candidates. And I'm very excited by this because this is going to be the second installment. About a month and a half ago, we had Mark Ludwig on down from Allendale. It's not Allendale. It's Allegan. And we had him on to kind of talk about his run. And now for our second installment, we are going to bring Christopher Banks on, who is running for the 90th district in Ottawa County, Michigan. So without further ado, please welcome Chris and my co-host, Chris, as well, to the show. Yeah. And I have to start off by prefacing this for those of you who are able to watch the stream. So if you have not seen the stream and you're only listening to audio, we are now doing video on YouTube. I could tell you I did not coordinate my outfit to match the other Chris's outfit. I know he's wearing blue glasses and a red shirt, and I have a blue hat and a red shirt on. I honestly did not coordinate this with him in advance. We just must both think alike.
Quality style.
Well, I heard a saying that said that great minds think alike, and then we all have the name Chris. So you can't. I mean, well, actually, Christopher. I'm assuming that Chris Hanna is Christopher too. So
I am.
So we can't help it, man. We just got great minds. That's what happens when you have great minds together.
Definitely. I'm the odd sheep out running around with my Detroit Tigers blanket behind me, but a home residency now in Ohio. So I wear my I had someone yell at me for wearing a Tigers hat when I first moved into the area. They're like, "Man, what the heck?" I was like,
and you're like, I don't want to wear the baseball hat from the racist team, right?
Well, that's the thing. Everybody who has a Cleveland Indians hat on now, which frustrates me on two different levels. One, they're not from India. They're Native Americans, so you got that part wrong. And then your iconography is also a bit problematic. So, like, all of these things need to go away. I'm Detroit Tigers. There's nothing wrong with that.
Are you talking about the Cleveland who? The Cleveland what?
Yeah. Or we could just do what they did in Washington and be like the Cleveland baseball program.
Oh man, come on!
I thought they were gonna try to do something like Washington Football Club, like WFC or something like that, and they didn't even go because just make it like make it cool, like some of the cool acronyms they have for European sports football, and they didn't even go cool like that. They were just like, let's do it as plain and boring as possible. I was like, okay, guys, whatever. I don't know. I just that's as far as I get into sports these days, because all I've been hearing about is all the baseball players getting COVID from not staying in their damn hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do? Some people don't understand what the virus is, and so I don't know. I kind of we've been kind of like we were talking before the show. We've quarantined quite a bit. I guess I won't say, Chris, I'm as quarantined as you were, because I have a small group of friends that I have gone and hung out with, as well as family. So, like I have basically three friends. I technically have more than three friends, but I have
I've
three
got none
friends
here
that I've been seeing in person, on and off over the last couple of months. But other than family and that, we, like I don't have to go into the office because of work. And my boss basically told me, hey, if you don't want to go in, I'll just give your seat away to somebody else and you can just work at home. And I said, thank you.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to find a babysitter for the summer.
I think he called that pants free February. Is that what that was? I'm not certain.
No, I
But
wear
nah.
pants.
Do you have on some pants right now, Chris?
I do.
You better have on some pants right now, okay?
Yeah, he's got jeans on. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, some
We're good.
dungarees or something. You better have something on at that table.
Well, you know, the best part is we use Zoom now, like the rest of the world seems to be using. And with using Zoom, the best part about this whole thing for me is that you can put the background up, and like as long as you're smart in what pants or underwear you wear, you don't got to worry if you stand up. It blends right in. It just kind of it just makes you look like a floating top. And yes, I have tried that more than one time.
So when
I'm concerned about with this whole pandemic thing, that people are getting too comfortable. Personally, I was growing tired of going into stores and seeing people, you know, in oversized shirts and wearing pajama pants and wearing, you know, house shoes or something they should have worn when they were like 6 or 7. No pun intended. You know, and they're only, you know, 45, 50 years old. I understand that we're in a pandemic and whatnot, but you know, when you go out in the public, you should look decent. But I'm hoping that, you know, after we come out of this pandemic, because I know a lot of people are not putting on clothing and all this kind of stuff as they would normally. I hope that we don't have a society that looks like that at large. I'm just saying, because
well, maybe
you know,
it'll be a big deal.
Get lulled into that because we can be too comfortable.
maybe it'll be a little bit like back in the day, how people used to get dressed up to fly on an airplane or something like that. You know, like like, ooh, today we're going to the grocery store. We better get on our nice and classy outfits, right? Like, I don't know, maybe it'll be like a big deal when you go out, as opposed to like, oh, I gotta go to the store or whatever. So I don't know. So I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Come out. Hopefully they'll do the flip thing, so they've been wearing their pajamas all day, or that when we do come out of this thing, that people will be going into Meijer with a tuxedo on, and they'll do their grocery shopping. And
I would like to see 3-piece suits, but my guess is we're gonna go even further into the negative direction on this one, and everyone's just gonna have a onesie that they wear at all times.
Listen,
actually, that sounds kind of fun.
Hold up. It's certain things I don't want to see in a onesie. A man of any age, I don't want to see in a onesie. I'm sorry. Unless he is working at Walt Disney World and that is a part of his costume, I don't want to see it. And even then, I really don't want to see it. That's just TMI. As TMI, I don't want to see it.
Well, I will tell you, unless they mandate suits, I will not be wearing a suit or a tuxedo to the grocery store ever. Now, I won't tell you why. I don't wear I don't go in my boxer shorts. I don't go in swishy shorts or whatever, basketball shorts. I don't do that. And I don't typically wear my running pants or anything like that. I usually have a jean, t-shirt, hat, AirPods, and my mask. And I have plenty of masks, so I can now wash them. Before it was all those disposable ones, and then they started selling sell these cotton ones. I'm like, yoink, $20? All right, we're expensing that. We're going to expense that one and call that a day and see what my boss says.
My company gave me some that had like the logo on the side. I don't know, it's pretty flashy. It's been pretty, they've been taking care of us pretty good.
They gave us those too, and they were like so thin. I was like, hey, they say if you can blow a candle out with your mask on, it's not going to work. And so I put it on, and I didn't try and blow a candle out, but I blew in his face, and he's like, oh my God, I can feel that. I'm like, that's why I'm not using this mask. You guys bought shit masks.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? The thing about these masks, man, I'm going to tell you. Okay, first of all, I'm hoping that we will get some fresher breath after these masks, because people are getting to suffer with their own horrible breath.
Smokers get it the worst.
Yeah, and it's been some days I had some garlic or something. I was like, woo! So I'm just so glad, it's made my hygiene a little bit better, and make me more conscious of the fact that sometimes your breath is just not right. So, so you just gotta, you gotta stay on top of it. You gotta get it together. So you get to breathe that in. The funny thing with these masks is actually, unless you're wearing an N95, really, you're just keeping your contaminants to yourself. Now, the issue that I'm having personally is I thought that when we breathe out, that we're releasing carbon dioxide. But with this mask on, we're just recycling the thing that we're supposed to be exhausting. So I noticed that my nose, when I take my mask off, every chance I get, I'm trying to get out of that mask, because at the end of the day, My nose is like congested. It's running sometimes, and I find that when I'm laying down in my bed or something, I just get stopped up on one side. I think that a lot of it has to do with wearing a mask and constantly breathing in my own air, not getting enough fresh air. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm still practicing the quarantine, because I need to breathe most of the day.
Yeah, I'm in a
When
hot
I'm at
environment,
work,
and
I'm required to wear my mask. I'm wearing just the normal face mask that they use like in healthcare facilities most of the time. I have purchased some. I've seen some masks I thought was really cool, and I've even thought about making some. Watching some YouTube videos or something and getting some old T-shirts and trying to make something personal. Kind of personalize it. But at the end of the day, I don't want to wear it. But you know, for everyone else's safety, including my own, I put it on. But something
you
is
know
going
what
to
would be
have to
a
give,
good
man, because this wearing of the mask all day long,
it's rough. Yeah,
especially when you're at
it's rough.
work 8 hours or almost 8 hours a day, you're wearing a mask. It's just minimum. It's insane. So
Mm-hmm.
it's
well,
not something that I look forward to.
one of the things we could do.
What's
I
that?
heard there's a campaign going on right now. And I wouldn't be opposed to, wearing a mask that had your name on it or a website or something like that. I'm just saying, I hear marketing idea and I hear that's all I hear, maybe I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm hearing. So
Well,
I
I
saw.
like it too. I do like it because you got most people walking around looking like ninjas, looking like a little bit more mysterious.
Like they're about to rob a bank.
And a lot of people look better because they have on a mask. I'm just saying. I just made a statement. I know I did. Yep. A lot of people do look better with a mask on, and I do like that part of it. But the mystique of it all, just to get that campaign going and have Chris Banks running across their 90th, change, whatever. I think that'll be awesome, Chris. I do. I really like the idea of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've seen there. That's one of the things that I've actually seen some of my friends online supporting people who are making. As much as I hate to say it, people are making Trump 2020 masks, and they're selling them for like $15 a piece. Like these people are trying to profit off of it. But
Yeah.
in all reality, to be 100% honest with you, if they're gonna sell these masks to people and that's what it'll take to get them wearing a mask, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it because I don't want to advertise for his campaign, but sometimes the health of the nation can supersede my not wanting to see people wearing masks like that. You know what I mean? Like it really is like this is a social contract that we're all part of, and we all need to be part of it. And if that's the thing that'd get them wearing it, having the person they support on their face, fine. Please wear a mask.
And then they're gaining $15 for each one. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, these are people just like on eBay or Craigslist that are selling this. I don't even know if this is a campaign associate. These are people these are hustlers just trying to make some cash. So like capitalists, right? Like the Republicans should love that.
Yep, exactly. And the thing of it is like I said, I mean, personally, that was my personal issue with it. But besides all of that, I'm wearing my mask 100%. When I saw those people go into Lansing and I saw signs, that says, I will not give up my public freedom for your private safety. Those types of things really disturb me because at the end of the day, this is a pandemic that affects us all. Mm-hmm. And for you to be so selfish and have no empathy, I could not wrap my mind around that. And then, at the end of the day, I thought about it. A lot of people were saying, we're losing our businesses and we're losing our livelihoods and we're losing our freedoms and we are oppressed and we are depressed. And all of these, these statements were being made. Let's grab, Governor Whitmer by her tyrannical ankles and hang her up on a tree. Just insane things because you have to stay home because there's a pandemic that is affecting the world, not Michigan.
Yeah, it's not
the
just
world. Okay. And we've not seen anything of this magnitude since 1919 or 1920 or whatever year it was, when the
The Spanish
viruses
flu.
were going
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
1918 Spanish flu. Yeah.
yeah, 1918. There you go. So it's been 102 years about since
Mm-hmm.
something like this happened. So most of us that are alive have never really had an experience like this. And I remember when everybody was scared of H1N1. You
Mm-hmm.
remember the flu scare that we
The
had
avian
here a
flu.
few
Yeah.
years ago, and we've had many others. You know, of course, SARS, and of course, tuberculosis and Ebola, mad cow disease. You name. You can call up a whole bunch of them. And at the end of the day, we've never had one to this magnitude. And for people to be so callous, you know, it was egregious to me. And personally, I just thought to myself, the truth of the matter is, regardless of what everyone else is doing, I don't want to do it either, but it's necessary, and that's what we're going to do. You know, so if I have to stay home, I'm going to stay home. I got more creative during the stay home time. I got to read a little bit more. I got to seek out some things that I hadn't even thought of. I had a lot of time to have retrospective time to overlook some things and look at how blessed I am. And I really counted my blessings. Um, just the simple things. Having tissue, having canned goods,
The toilet paper
uh,
shortages.
really being
I
able to
know.
save the money from not, having to gas up every few days because I'm
Yeah.
traveling so much. And then being able to have my creative outlets. I had been wanting to start a YouTube channel, so I started a YouTube channel
Right.
where I started.
We'll have to
I
get
love
that
to
so we can put
cook.
that in the doc so we got everybody can check it out.
Okay, great. But just I love to cook. So me being able to do that and then kind of share through that medium of YouTube with people of my love of cooking, and then sharing with people, how to make little much. That's what we do. That's
Yeah.
how I was raised. That's where I came from. And so in the pandemic, it really showed that. So I was excited about it myself, to be honest. At first I was like, yay, I get time off from work, because I was about to lose my mind. I needed a vacation. And I had already planned actually to go visit family out of state, and all of that was canceled. And it is what it is. But with modern technology as we have it today, like right now, we're streaming. We can all see each other. We can't touch each other, but we can definitely see each other. We can definitely hear each other. You can see how well individuals are doing, and being able to be an encouragement to people. Having conversations that you don't normally have because you're too busy. You just
Hmm.
don't have time to do that. I had a lot of time to do that. So for me personally, it has been more of a plus than a minus. That's for certain.
Yeah, when the people that were basically making the argument that it was, I'm losing my business, I'm losing my job, I'm losing this, I can't
Yeah.
afford that. The first thing that I think of when I hear about people saying that they're losing their material possessions is that I would give my house, I would give my car, I would give everything in my material world to not lose one of my little girls. You know what I mean? There's a level of like I would live in my Kia Sportage forever to not lose someone that means that much to me, to be able to
Right.
hug my parents and have that moment with them. So like
Right.
those kinds of things, the argument is really easy to make it against people who are taking that libertarian my freedoms over your health and whatever. It's not hard to break those things down. Like I'm comfortable. I've said that to him before. It's like I don't care. I don't care about what makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
If I could have one more day with my kids, and I know that's worth everything I've ever had in my entire life. And it's like those things, like that little bit until it happens to you, until the personal experience fallacy is something that you're dealing with. In the end, it all matters. Everything we're doing matters. Being able to spend time at home with family, we're realizing that we can work from home and we can be productive at home. And maybe you don't need to spend 40, 50, 60, 70 hours away from your family. Maybe you can spend 35, get everything done, and spend more time with your family. These are things that are changing in our society. And some of them may be for the better. Maybe we're getting a little bit of an awakening as to how our society should be structured, and that should maybe possibly influence our vote in the next election, especially when it comes to local stuff. Because those are the people that are going to make the biggest difference right out of the gate. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we've been trying to push. And so we've talked with you. We back on episode 148, we talked with you on the campaign that you were originally running. We had you again on episode 166 when we were talking about Black History Month.
Yes.
We've had a nice history with you. It's been really enjoyable talking with you, and we definitely want to support. I'm no longer a Michigander, but I still support local politics from anywhere that I can have any effect to it. And I believe, Chris, you were even able actually to vote for Chris.
Yeah, technically, well, because I cast my absentee vote, so like
Okay.
I already went ahead and did that.
That's
and
awesome.
some of me it was because I wanted to test the waters. Some of me was because fuck Trump. I guess I shouldn't say that because I don't want to put explicit tag on.
We'll find a way to believe it.
So there's those two reasons. Right there was I wanted to test this out, and I wanted to basically say, screw you, I can vote absentee. And to be honest with you, I would like this a lot better. I don't like going, especially in Ottawa County. Like, I'm in Zealand. These people don't like me, and usually I'm going into work. So, I can't wear my very pro, political stuff to work because I just can't do that. That's not a thing my, company supports. And so, usually I take the girls, my daughters with me before I go there. Or I'm able, I can pick them up and then take them there. But I'm always in my work clothes, so I can't demonstrate who I'm voting for. But usually when they see me and I walk in there, usually for the most part, people go, well, they look at, the guy with the kid. And one time I told my daughter, it's okay if you ask me a question in there. And so she asked me, Dad, did you just circle Bernie Sanders? just because I could, it just was I probably shouldn't do that, but I don't know how else to get.
I'll give you a candy bar if you yell that out loud.
Well, I always buy them donuts. So that was our thing, is we walk down and get donuts, and then because I can walk to my local donut shop, and then we vote, and then I take them to school.
That's smart. Positive reinforcement for voting for a socialist. Now we're talking here. Conditioning. Get that brain cells working, right?
But what was exciting this year, my wife did the same thing. She got her absentee vote or ballot, and she's like, "Oh, you just fill it out." And I'm like, "No, you got to fill this out because I don't want this to come back to haunt me." Where like we have some fraudulent thing. So fill out your bloody ballot. I'll mail it for you. Don't worry. I'll put the stamp on. I'll do all the licking. I'm okay with that. But I just, I was like, I can't fill this out because I don't want that to ever get around, where Trump would basically other people could fill the ballots out.
Sitting down with my wife and doing the absentee ballot, we looked at each name, we checked out their site. I mean, it was like a 2-hour thing. We spent a big chunk of time. Okay, who are we voting for? Okay, cool. Let's go to their page. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know about that. Hey, what about their history? Is there anything that shows up on Google? I was more informed voting in the last election absentee than I have ever been in my entire life. And I'm a pretty political dude. So, it really does make a huge difference because it's you're in there and you're like, and you don't know some of the judges and stuff like that. That's kind of hard to know and to know who's exactly on the ballot. It really does make a difference. And I think it's way, way better. I mean, if you can get your stimulus check, if you can get your Social Security, if you can pay your taxes, you can do all that stuff in the mail, you can vote in the mail. The question is, do we have the infrastructure to count it quickly so that we know relatively soon? That's one of the things I saw. There was under current law, if there isn't a clear winner by January 20th of 2020, Nancy Pelosi would assume the leadership position, and if she's still the Speaker of the House, until whatever, or Congress can pass a law or something along those lines. But that I saw something along those lines. So there are things and legal things that are already in position for it. So absentee ballot is going to be great. Anyone who has you on there, Chris, definitely check, do the research, check out the YouTube page Chris has got up, or the Facebook page Chris has got up right now. we've got some images and stuff that we'll be sharing, and we're definitely going to be sharing the links for all of these from his. There was a Google page I saw. There's the Facebook page and some other stuff around there. So there's definitely a place where you can take a look and just read about Chris anywhere you if he's going to be potentially your representative for the 90th district.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I wanted to also say too that the website is going to be updated soon enough. As soon as we get enough funds in here to get the website going, because I still have my 2018 website up. So I know I got some people that said, "Oh, it's from 2018." Yeah. I ran in 2018. I'm running in 2020.
Yeah.
My platform is basically the same, except for I've added mental health as a huge initiative, because unfortunately we lost Jeanette Skippers, and that was her major platform, was mental health care. So I will be picking up that mantle to carry it in, because of course she and I, we had many discussions about that, and that was in the forefront of my mind as well. When we both talked, I said, hey, when we get there, that's what we're going to focus on, because at
That's
the end of the day, a lot of people are suffering from mental health issues, and they need to be addressed, and they need the proper care at an affordable price. And so we really want to be able to get people the help that they need without the worry of paying, for the care that they need. Also, too, the social justice matters that happens, they've always been dear to my heart. Especially with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and Trayvon Martin, and the names can go on and on. And we know these things have been happening for hundreds of years. This is not something that has just started to happen. The truth of the matter is that people are really seeing the detriment of it, which I'm so happy about, because it was a quote, and I can't quote it the same way Benjamin Franklin did, because I can't remember exactly the way he said it. But what I do remember is that he basically said, in a nutshell, until it affects those who are not affected, there will not be any change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it comes down to. White America in general don't really understand what it means to be Black in America, to drive a vehicle and be pulled over simply because you're Black, not because you're a suspect, not because you fit a profile, simply because you are Black. And I personally, we've talked about this in streams before with you guys, that I've had these experiences here, not only in Holland. My last episode I was actually traveling from New York last fall along the highway, and I was pulled over simply because I was Black. And I was treated in a way that was not professional, simply because I was Black. But I understood that I could not meet that with the anger that I felt, because it wouldn't have ended well for me. So, to live in a country where strange fruit is acceptable, I have a problem. I have a problem with people. George Floyd was only 2 years older than me. He was a young man living his life, and he's crying out saying, I can't breathe. And 4 adult men were on him. Now, the Officer Shaban, they said it was him because obviously when we first saw it in the media, only picture we saw was him. But the truth of the matter is there were 4 adult police officers, excuse me, it was 4 of them there. 3 of them were on him. So you have 3 adult men that could weigh 200 pounds each, and they're all on this one man. And he's crying out, I can't breathe. He's crying out for his mom. That should disturb everyone. It should disturb everyone. And yes, we need police officers. We can't have a lawless society. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the rogue police officers that feel because they have a badge that they can live up to their supremacist attitude and hunt men of color and take their lives at random because they have a God-given right. That's the issue that we're talking about. And those things have to be addressed. And when you don't have to sit down, like you talked about how important your daughters are. They are. You realize the material things that you have, Chris, Hannah, because we are Chris's. When you say they don't matter, what matters most is your child.
Mm-hmm.
Think about sitting down, having a conversation with your daughter, saying that if you run into the police, don't do thus and so because I want you to return home.
Yeah.
Those are
That's a
conversations
talk that every African American parent has to have. They do, and that's something that I probably will never have to have. I mean, that's a real thing.
It's a scary thought. Oh, you just running over to Meyer. Oh,
Yeah.
you're just going around the corner to a friend's house.
That's all.
You may not come back because someone has mistaken you, or worse, they have just decided that they're going to take your life because your life don't matter.
Yeah.
Well, and that's, it's kind of, we have, we talk about having conversations with our kids, and because of the news and because I'm pretty open in my house, a discussion came up, and when that happened, when George Floyd happened, like it's sitting there like, holy shit, this is insanely awful. Like, what the fuck is wrong with America? And my youngest is 9, and sorry, I'll go back and bleep them for you, man. I'm sorry, I have a filthy mouth. But my youngest is, she goes, why would anybody murder another person, and why do they want to murder only black people? And I said, honey, it's because people are corrupt, people are racist, and people don't want to stop and think and change their personality. They just want to live in their little humdrum world and think they can get away with it. And I said, it's because we haven't put enough pressure, as white people, on our candidates and on our police force and our society to force that. We talk about privilege, right? And yeah, I don't like that I have privilege, but it's a fact. It's just, it's a fact. And
so what do you
the
do
difference is, that's why I told her, I said, you're going to run into the same situation. Remember a couple years ago when they criticized who we voted for a candidate for president because they didn't like Hillary, and you asked, why can't a woman be president? And they just said, because she's an beep, 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 beep. They didn't swear, I guess, because they're little kids, but they repeated the talking points of their parents. Yeah. And I said, remember we had the conversation that it's because society is inherently sexist and people have a hard time getting over that. I said, society is inherently racist. They just don't, they don't get it. And I'm glad you see this because it'll help you get rid of your biases. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm sure there's things in this house, that we've said before that probably can, I'd be very embarrassed about, now, right? But the difference is owning that. And that's what I said is, honey, the difference is now society is going to putting pressure. People are finally like, again, we talk about why does it take this long to get people angry? And I think the difference is there wasn't enough people angry, and people told, any minority just to sit down is getting better. And now is the point where, honey, like people finally, because of social media, can see these things are not a reality, right? Like it's when especially right after that happened, there was how many deaths within a 1 to 2 week window of black people. They're just like, seriously, like all over the news, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, those were happening before. You just didn't hear about them. That's it.
And then the saddest part of it is the fact that those are the only ones that were reported.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's innumerable numbers of people that are being killed that is not even being reported. And that's, even, we can go even deeper, dig a little deeper into all of these missing children that has come about. Where did they go? What happened to them? A lot of them were hunted simply because they were black and they were murdered, or worse, where they were enslaved in some type of way from a baby up. You have all kinds of things that are happening that is just pure evil at its best. And it's a sad commentary, but it's a true commentary that we have to face. And until we understand the depths of what slavery has done, because now we have new labels. We have a 13th Amendment. We have human trafficking. Okay. We have prison. Okay. All of these things.
Work labor in prison.
You see my point.
Yeah.
So it's all slavery, and that's what it is. And the racist attitude. See, this is what a lot of people don't understand. As a black man, so I can speak as this black man. All black men don't think the same. Hello, somebody. I am one person, and there's someone other person. But we all, as men, all of us here, we have certain things that we could discuss that we all have in common. That's based for us as men. Okay, when I talk to you about simple respect and what that means to you, you could clearly define that for me. And 9 times out of 10, most things, if not all things, we're going to be in agreement with.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way to approach an individual. It's a way to speak to them. It's a way to address an issue. It's a way that you carry yourself with your wives. It's a way that you carry yourself with your children. It's a way that you carry yourself on your jobs. And whatever you do that's respectful, because you give what you want to receive. And that's what it comes down to. But when you have individuals that demand respect, but they don't want to give respect, problem number 1. Problem number 2 is that as a black man, as this black man, Christopher Banks, I don't have a problem with white privilege. I'm going to be honest with you. And what I mean by that is you didn't choose your color. You didn't choose the treatment. I'm not angry about that. What I'm angry about is when you take that privilege and you turn a blind eye and act as if nothing is happening. Silence is worse than those who are wearing white sheets. It is worse than those who are out wearing a badge and they're shooting people because they can.
I tell
they're
people
part of a brotherhood that have come together, that have decided by a blood oath that they're going to protect one another at all costs. It is corruption across the board. Okay, from the White House to the Black House. Okay,
yeah.
It's simple as that. And at the end of the day, the people have to rise up. That's what it's going to take. I'm grateful to see all of these movements and all these things and more than one race coming together for the common good to fight the common foe, which is the idea that America is not America. I say this all the time. America is an ideal of freedom. Okay. It is a state of mind. It is the way that you carry yourself. It is the way that you think. And at the end of the day, when you ask different ones, everybody's got a different skew of what that is, a different perception of what America is. For me, America is not a red flag with a blue X on it with white stars in it. America does not have 3 Ks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. America is not a country with a black flag with a black X on it outlined in white with stars. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is not that to me. America to me is my home. It's where I'm from. I'm not going back to Africa. I've never been there. I can't go back to somewhere I've never been. It's just the mentality of it is ridiculous. Okay. I work, I pay my taxes, I respect people, I demand respect, and that's that. Racism is not going anywhere. Let's be honest. Okay? It's conditioned, in us. And to a degree, most of us, in my opinion, are racist. Okay? But not to the intent of illness. Well, we want to take someone's life because, all white people eat mayonnaise eat mayonnaise sandwiches. You know what I'm saying?
I hate them.
Which we know
What was it? Was it Undercover Brother? Was that what it was? Yeah. With Denise Richards.
You know what I mean? Or all black men have a large. You know what I'm saying?
I will say that's way better of a stereotype than my mayonnaise sandwich. I gotta say.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying.
But yeah, we agree.
Those are stereotypes.
Yep. Yep, the caricatures and they are used for ill. Yeah.
Right. they're racist statements because one size does not fit all. All white people don't eat mayonnaise, and then the other one don't work for all. It's just what it is. Okay, so let's just not be ridiculous. Okay, that's what I'm saying. When you really think about it and have the conversation, it may be a common thing, but not everybody's there. That's what stereotypes come from. It may be a common thing, but it's not everyone. So we have to deal with people as individuals and deal with circumstances individually as well. And like I said, the biggest thing for me, the one thing I've learned from living in West Michigan is the fact that I am Black to the bone. Okay. I am Black through and through. I am so happy about it. I don't want to be any other race but the race that I am. Okay. I
You going
stand
with your
proud
bad
in
self.
my blue glasses with
Damn
my smooth
right.
skin.
Yeah.
Don't look my age. Thank God. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Hey, I'm talking, man. This is the real
Yeah.
me. Okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm happy with who I am. Is there
Good.
some things I want to change? Of course. We all do. But I got more pluses than minuses. So I don't
That's good to hear.
have a whole lot of complaints. What I find is that people will not be honest. People will not be they will not open themselves up to other ideas. And that's a part of what America is. It's the freedom of it all to be able to express yourself in the way that only you can. To be, authentically yourself. And at the end of the day, most people judge. Let me raise my hands. Yes, I make judgments. I make judgments all the time. We do that. But the truth of the matter is that when we talk to each other, you find out more things about a situation than what you think that you know. And that's the problem that we all, well, most of us do. We have a problem with assumption. We assume things that we don't really know. We're not really seeking those things out, and that's a problem. But like I said, at the end of the day, racism is not going anywhere. And my thing is this: if you cool with me, I'm cool with you. If you're not cool with me, I'm not cool with you. See how that works?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I've never been to your home. You've never been to mine. My friends, I know them, but you don't. Your friends, you know them, but I don't. We live private lives. I think if we took on the mentality of, how you deal with work people that you work with, the majority of your work people are associates. Okay. I only associate with you when I'm at work. The people that matter most to me are in my life, and I deal with them outside of work. Okay.
Yeah.
If people took on that mentality, this country would be a much greater America. It really would. Because at the end of the day, when we're in public, we have like civil laws for a reason. No, you cannot piss in a corner. No. You know what I'm saying? No, you cannot run around naked. No. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No,
you can't,
because you're having a bad day,
people.
you can't go and bust out all the windows. No, you can't deface property that does not belong to you. No, you can't do that. We have civil laws for a reason, to keep civility. And if people would just be civil to one another and get over themselves, we would be okay. We really would. I just think we would be okay. But like I said, I like people that like me. If you don't like me, I like me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop liking me because you feel some type of way. Because I've been knowing myself longer than you have. Hello.
I hope so.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't get disturbed by that. You know what I mean? I don't get, like I said, like sometimes, you go in the store and someone they give you a dirty look, like, what are you doing here or whatever. Some days I'll laugh, some days I'll ignore them, and some days I'll turn around and look at them and look at them the way they looked at me. It just depends on how I feel that day, what you gonna get. But you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm still getting in the store and I'm gonna get what I want and I'm gonna get out, and that's that.
Yeah.
So if we would focus on our own personal lives instead of trying to control someone else's life, we'll be okay.
I had my daughters in their masks when we went to the beach a week ago, and I mean they were just wearing their masks. The beach was sparsely attended. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, early. Nobody was there, and there were some people just jogging on the trail, and they were physically upset that we were all in masks. My daughters were in masks. Like they were pointing at the girls, like I'm just like people just they see things that they don't like, and there's this our society right now is like a commentary society where everything has to have some kind of reaction. You have to, you know what I mean? And so like when I see people that I know that are moderates and in the middle, and they're good people, and they're saying like, don't break the windows, don't do this, and you know, some of the protesting, and they're talking about those kinds of things, and they're nice moderate people who will probably vote Democrat, but they have a problem with, you know, like we were talking about earlier, the shops being damaged and those kinds of things. I always point them towards letters from a Birmingham jail. I always say that this is where you are right now, and the famous quote obviously is, and this is, you know, from its time, but the Negro's great stumbling block is his stride towards freedom is not the white citizen's counselor, the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who's more devoted to order than to justice. And that's a very real thing that's happening right now. It's a very real thing in our society that we see people that are saying, don't challenge the system, don't push the buttons, don't do those things. And we're looking for politicians who are comfortable with saying, no, you don't understand. This is not your world. I've been here. There's something that needs to change. And then in local politics, maybe your position that you're a representative wouldn't be, this is something that you would really, I mean, this isn't a major issue in your district. Maybe this isn't something that, you know, that like you really see this heavy and hard in your area, but a small change, a small push, but an understanding and an agreement that things need to change. You know, these could be, you know, those steps that we talk about, because there are the incrementalist and the revolutionist. And, you know, some areas need revolution. Some areas are really, really bad. And some areas need incrementalism. And so there's always an understanding that things need to change. And moderates and people like that who are comfortable now, maybe they need to understand from your perspective, that empathize with where you're coming from, where people who are in these positions come from. So like, it's really nice to see people in the middle come, you know, a little bit further to the promised land, hopefully in the upcoming election. I'm hoping that we'll see a lot more progressive action, and I loved listening to you speak candidly. That this would be a good thing, in my opinion. This would be your representation would be a very good thing for the area of West Michigan and North and West Michigan. Like these are the kinds of voices that have not been heard in these areas, and I really do think that it would benefit them to have those people speak for them. You know, it's something that they haven't had, so it's a necessary change, and I really do think it would be a really great thing to see.
I mean, when you just look at your opponent, right? You know, when we talk about these different things, and we talk about, in fairness, he doesn't have a Twitter, right? So at least we don't have to worry about
warning sign number 1.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Some of me says that's he probably did that on purpose. Maybe he doesn't know how to use it. He is pretty old, and I don't want to be an ageist here, but at some point, I feel our government becomes stale when we have people that are getting into their, you know, that are career politicians. And again, this is probably where I move away from certain types of democratic and social viewpoints, right? Because to me, I kind of go back to where the founding fathers, you had a job, right? You went and you did your thing and you came back to your job. And that's how things worked. And yes, technically speaking, there were more rich people that did that, you know, than not, because you can afford to take the time off. And this is where our government fails, because to me, somebody like you, right? Hey, can your salary, whatever you make right now, easily be paid? And you don't need to disclose what you make. I don't want to know. But, you know, can you easily get paid the exact same amount of money you made and be able to take a couple years off, right? And go service the country the way you want to. And then as long as the company you work for can guarantee you can come back, to me, that makes so much more sense than having somebody that has, I mean, look at what happened with that Luke Meerman, right? He was hand selected specifically by the GOP, and Roger went from the House to the Congress. That's it. He doesn't have to go back to his real job. He's done this for how many years? Doesn't have to go back. And now he gets to go run again this year. And it's like, hey, here's the problem.
Yeah, once
folks.
you're in the club.
This is the problem.
You're in.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's funny, Chris, that for me, I'm not a rich man, and I clearly said that in 18, and this is still the situation now. I'm a working man, and that's part of one of the reasons why I'm running, because at the end of the day, the working man is the man that really was hurt the most in 2008. From 2008 on through 2011, actually, is when we started to see some recovery. And so I understand that. I've been there. I don't have my college degree where I can go and get a job that's paying six figures. Okay. And not saying that all college, people with college degrees have
Yeah.
six figures, but I don't have the degree that guarantees me a six-figure salary. I don't have that. What I do have is my smarts. What I do have is passion. What I do have is tenacity, and what I do have overall is experience. Okay, I've lived life. I know what it is to have it, and I know what it is to not have it. And my opponent, Bradley Slaw, his slogan was adding values. I don't see any value that he's added in the 2 years that he's been in Lansing. Let me be clear about that. Now, I met him um, um, initially before the campaign really got off the ground. And he came off to me as a relatively nice man, but it was some comments that he made. Like he made a comment like, it must have been really hard for you to really live here in Holland during the time that you moved here. And I thought to myself, white Christian, you're making this comment, and this is what he said out of his mouth. And he took no thought of it because he had liberty to say it, because that's what his thoughts were. And I'm not condemning him for that, but it's just the idea that it was no real empathy there for it. It was just like, man, I just don't know how you really did it. Being as
Or
black
an
as you are,
understanding.
to me,
Yeah,
in
it's
my
an
perception,
understanding
as
of the
black as
culture.
you are, I don't know how you really made it in Holland, as white as Holland is, and
Yeah.
it's less than 10% of African Americans here. I don't know how you really did it. And like I told him then, and I'm still saying it now, that I dealt with quite a bit of racism when I came here, from teachers in particular. The lion's share of the students that I was going to school with didn't have that mentality, but their parents did. But the teachers did. Quite a few of the teachers, not all of them. Let me be clear. But I did have certain teachers that would not help me. I would
Really?
ask a question, they would belittle me,
That's
and
terrible.
they did their part in their way to make me feel small, to make me feel less than. And I've not forgotten those experiences. I've not forgotten those experiences when I started to work in manufacturing, and I came into manufacturing majority white, and they had their own, in a sense, manufacturing country club where they all linked up together and got together after work. They partied and did their thing. And, I wasn't a part of that group, and they made sure I knew that. And when they wanted to, as a group, they made my work hard.
That's terrible.
I know what that's like. And to have that white privilege and to be more than qualified for a job, but the job is going to a person that I've trained, versus you giving me the job, you give it to the person that I've trained with less education than me and experience. But because I'm black, I don't get the opportunity. I know what that's like. I know what the nepotism is like, in this area. I know what it's like. I know the discrimination that I've received living here in West Michigan, but I fought through it. The reason being is because I had a mandate to be here. My life was getting better despite all of those things that was happening. That's the enthusiasm that I have. And the truth of the matter is, the exposure helped me to become more well-rounded, because at the end of the day, I was used to dealing with people that look like me primarily. And you're limiting yourself. And that's what I don't want to do. I told myself from the beginning, I want to be as educated as I possibly can in every way. It was a thing that my mom used to tell me all the time. She said, you have a lot of book knowledge, but you have no common sense, she said to me. and I thought, what? She used to tell me my sister
That's
had
brutal.
more common sense than I had.
Oh
And when
man,
she told
that's a
me
hand.
that,
That's a backhand right there. That I mean, it'd take you off your feet.
yeah, it stirred something up in me, and I'm so glad that my mom did that. My mom she was not trying to degrade me. What she was saying to me is you need to tap into a whole nother side that you're not using. You know what I'm saying? And you
Yeah.
need to get it because you need a more of an equilibrium more so than a balance. And that's what I'm looking for in my life. It's an equilibrium. I want to be well-rounded and not tossed to and fro, to have my mind set because I've given it the trial. I've tried it. I've heard. I've listened. I try to double hear and less speaking because at the end of the day, if you pay attention, the truth will show up. You know, and that's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking the truth. Some people say, well, why are you running? Again, I had to get off of the sideline and stop complaining about things that are not happening that I know should be happening, that can happen if the right people are in place. I can't complain about someone that does not understand my experience, does not care to empathize with it, and want to become part of the country club. I am not interested in any of those things. You know, at the end of the day, the reason why I do what I do, because more people I found are like me than not. And that's of every race. You want to be able to take care of your family. You want to be able to be respected, and you want to be able to live the
Pursue
ideal
happiness.
America, right?
Yeah, pursue happiness. That's the whole point.
And that's the whole point. And it takes a whole culmination of things in order for that to happen. The biggest thing that is for you right now is to see that your daughters are well taken care of, your wives are well taken care of. That's selflessness. When I look at politics today, what I see is a lot of selfishness, not selflessness.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole idea of being a public servant is out the window. I'm doing you a favor by representing you is what I see in many cases. Not in every case, but in many cases, that's what we're seeing. Donald Trump is the epitome of that. I am embarrassed as an American citizen to know that he is the president of my country because he represents us to the world. He represents us as arrogant, as irreverent. He represents us as narcissistic.
As a joke.
And, right.
We are, the people laugh.
Right.
They laugh.
Because they're like, this is he,
really?
Is he serious? Is he for real?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's very for real. It is the apprentice at its best in the White House. And it's unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable to me. And like you said, Chris, you know, at the end of the day, the local candidates are the ones that affect you the most. And most people they don't really understand that. But it's the truth of the matter. The mayors, the city councilmen, the county commissioners,
clerks, everyone.
The clerks, the supervisors, the treasurers, all of these people affect your day-to-day.
Yeah.
What's happening in this state is affected by what's happening in Lansing, not what's happening in Washington, D.C. And people are starting to really understand that. Because if the state was where it needed to be, we wouldn't have had a Flint crisis.
I was just going to say, Flint.
And we'll think about it this way.
That's our city, in our state. It's our responsibility. It's not the federal government's responsibility. It is our responsibility to look after each other. And that's what I want to get back to when I get to Lansing. I want people that are like-minded like me that's going to help push laws that's going to help us as a whole, not in part. And that's where we have to break down. Certain people feel that they are privileged to it. This is even beyond the white privilege. This is the wealth privilege. Okay.
Ooh,
you know what I'm saying?
I like
the wealth
that.
privilege feel like that they should have right to everything and everyone else have access to little to nothing and pay the bill for it.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Well, exactly. And I think that's one of the big things, you know, like when we talk about who do we want us to run for us, right? I'm proud to say I have a representative in my county that is selfless, somebody that is a working man or woman, right? I know you're a man, but a working person, to be gender neutral, right? I have somebody that doesn't put profit over that. And what do we have at the Capitol in Michigan? People protesting losing their business, right? People went out and protested losing their business because it was their livelihood. They wanted haircuts.
Well, that's what they said. Let's be clear about that. That's what they said, but the majority of them was just mad because they can't do what they want.
So I agree with you.
They've been given an order to stay home, and they refused. They claimed that was the reasoning. But at the end of the day, that was not the only one. And I just thought to myself, overall, with all of the monies that were in place to help small businesses and other businesses get over the hump, they were getting more money than the workers were at home. You know, so let's be honest about that, okay?
But and I agree with you. But what I'm saying, hold on, just let me. What I'm saying is, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's what they protested, what happened in Flint? Was there a protest in Flint? No. Did anybody go out to Flint and protest? See, people went to the Capitol with guns to complain about losing their business because that's their livelihood. But yet we have Flint, a very poor district and county, suffering, and nobody was out there protesting it.
It was national news and even worldwide news.
Yeah,
and
we talked about this for weeks, and literally nothing has happened. There's been very few for convictions, and before we
they were all tossed out.
Before we go down the road of the racism thing here, because I do think that that's part of it. I mean, people look at it and they go, they're poor and they're minority. Fuck, screw them. That's what these people are seeing. But even before we go down that area, we had a bunch of people at the Capitol protesting livelihoods and their lives, but they have no interest in protesting when other lives are being erased or ignored. And this is when we talk about who do we want for candidates and what do we want in a candidate's self-esteem? What do we want in this? I'll tell you what, your opponent didn't have boo to say about Mr. Snyder, right? He didn't. Nobody. Where's my sign that says lock Rick Snyder up? We've got that for Whitmer, but we don't have that for Snyder. And nobody to this day is saying it. And he's going to go scot clean for this. And the only thing I can think of, because when we take these large comparisons and shrink them all down, there's only two big factors here. One, minority, and two, poor. So I don't care what you want to focus on, but both of those are the reasons that if we aren't going to consciously elect leaders that recognize that part of society and have a drive to fix it, we're not going to get anywhere. And you know what? If there was a white Democrat running saying the exact same things, hey, fine. You know what? They can have my vote too. I'm not voting for you, no offense, because you're black. I'm voting for you because you understand and you have the experience. You have gone through more crap than I can even imagine, right? And I don't know if you have kids. I don't think you have kids, but
no, I don't.
But you're the one that has to talk to people about these are what's happened to me. This is what could happen to you. And guess what? Don't expect to change for another 20 years because people are dumb. Look, people continue to put somebody like a Trump in power, and then they look at the local level and they're like, well, I don't see what the problem is. It's like, well, you're voting in your lane, in your silo. And when we talk about in work structure, when you live in a silo, you don't produce anything or listen to other people. So the principle at my work is you listen first, speak second. And if you're my personality is to speak first because that's just me.
Speak first, but also say your name wrong.
And say my name. Yep. But I don't say my name. I don't say my own name.
No,
and I like that Chris Banks' name is very easy. It's very similar to mine. So I'll never forget your name ever. I'll never mispronounce it ever. But that shouldn't be a staple. That's just a fault of mine. I am very poor at saying people's names. But when we talk about these things and bringing it all back around to why do we have Chris on the show? Why do we want to support, Mr. Banks, right? It's because the values and the embodiment of morality that you show is what we should be electing. And when we have candidates that continue to ignore the failures of society and want to brush them off. I don't understand why we would think that's the logical solution to to solving a political issue. Like, I don't care if you were a Republican, that even if you were a pro-life Republican, but you were on the other side saying, hey, we got to fix the police issue we have to fix the water issue we have in Flint, we have to work on reparations for people that got screwed over by this, and we need to raise minimum wage. I would back a Republican candidate that said that. But they don't.
Republicans used to support workers' rights and
they don't
local. So, you know what I mean? So, like, those kinds of things, like, it is a space in the middle that we can meet. And so that's not a thing that really happens anymore. But, you know, Chris's representation, my assumption is that, Chris, with your life experience and the things that you've had in here, you would bring something very different than the area has seen as far as your district that you're in. That kind of change is super important, because what brings change but different experiences? I mean, have you ever been to a place where you're like, okay, this is exactly what I've always dealt with, I've always experienced? I work at a place now, there are something like 10, 14 languages spoken. It's amazing. It's one of the most glorious things I've ever experienced. It's like the wealth of culture and wealth of experience. It's just phenomenal. I live in a bigger city now in Cleveland, and the Asian districts and the Lebanese district, I had real shawarma. With the first week I was here, from probably someone who's genuinely gunning for the best friend department. He, like, I'm seriously, like, and someone that I know who's from Egypt says this is the closest thing to home. Like, this is real culture, real experiences, right. And like that kind of thing, like, being someone who can empathize and understand as best I can, but having never lived it, like, the people that I want representing are not the people who look like me, who have lived like me. I want people who I can say, listen, this person knows more than me. I agree entirely with them, but they've lived it, as opposed to me just learning about what it's like. And that kind of, like, real world expertise is way more important than, you know, just saying, like, oh, this person went to college and they learned about this from textbooks and stuff like that. Like, I wish we valued that a little bit more. Like, when you talk about you don't have the degree, the college degree that can guarantee you money, I would bet you that if you put your education and experience up against someone who basically just went through school and had everything they ever wanted, you're going to be the person who's not going to be, oh, he's not book smart, but he's smart. And the smart guy is the guy I want in my tool room, the guy who I want in my background, working on tools, working on machines, because that guy is the guy that he's got some, you know, some wealth of experience, you know, the dependable person who's had to, you've had, you know, dirty hands a few times in your life because you had to bust your, that matters. And I don't see a lot of, you know, real soft and, you know, like Ivy League grads and people like that who typically go into politics and just have an easy, smooth sailing thing. It's like, you can represent the worker. You've been in manufacturing and those kinds of things. Like, I don't understand why more people in the area wouldn't support you, because you've been there. I don't know. Has your competition got any experience? Actually, been on a workroom floor, been down in the hard stuff? Because I don't usually hear about those kinds of, you know, comparisons.
Well, you know what the thing of it is that my opponent had little to nothing to say in the 2018 cycle. I have
just
not
assumed,
but yeah,
just assumed. I got this. No big deal. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, it was
terrible.
a shoe-in. His attitude, from my perception, was this is a shoe-in. You know, because I was relatively unknown. He was known as the treasurer at the time. I never really got the feeling that he was running out of sincerity in terms of this is what he really wanted to do. I just felt as if he was running simply because someone told him to do it. So he was really filling in a space. That's my perception of him.
We need you to do this because Chris is running, and we can't have that guy.
Right. We need someone to fill in this blank, and you're on deck. You know what I mean? That's basically what my perception was. And the small events that we were a part of, when people asked pertinent questions, he really did not make any real attempts to even answer any questions. It was more so, you know, diversion. Oh, I'll get back to you on that. Well, I hadn't really thought about that. You know, it was those types of responses. He didn't even take any thought to even think about it, to just answer from the heart, or just say, well, you know what, I need to do more research on that. But if I'm understanding you correctly, blah, 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 I didn't speak from that point. He didn't do those things at all. And the thing about it is that when he and I talked, I think that he was surprised, actually, from my perception, because whatever he had in his mind, about me, he made a statement where he actually said, I can't find anything out about you. I don't know much about you. And I was like, well, that's because you should ask me. I could tell you better than whatever it is you're trying to find out. And I just thought it was kind of funny. You got the dirt of the politics and all of these things. And like I told him, I'm not a perfect man. Well, I didn't say that to him, but I'm saying this now. I'm not a perfect man. I'm being perfected. It's a difference. And I'm trying to live my best life, so I'm learning from, trial and error, just like everyone else. And, I'll give you an example of something that happened 2011. Okay. At the time, I was driving with no insurance. Okay. On my vehicle. Why? Because I was in recovery. I didn't have a whole lot of money. I had 3 years of suffering financially from a job shutting down, working in a company, making, at the time, almost $20 an hour, to going down to $8.75 an hour when I was working through temp jobs. And then
Whatever you had to do.
And the savings and monies that I had to sustain me were all being depleted. And I had gotten to a point where there were bouts. It was like 3 different times where I didn't have any money. And I've talked to people in this area, and I'm being forthright, because I've been advised, oh, don't talk about these things. No, that's what people need to hear. That's what they need to understand.
Well, they're looking at it right now.
This is where I'm coming from. I know what it was like to be self-sufficient and then find yourself in a situation where your hands are tied and there's nothing that you could do about it but go through it. I went through from 2008 to 2010, the government shutdowns and Governor English shutting down all the unemployment agencies in the state, not getting information passed on to me so I can get the continual unemployment, calling and no response on a hotline, like a lot of people just went through again here during this pandemic. And these are the things that are actually happening, that are actually happening with people. And, getting to a point where I don't have enough gas money. I don't have enough money to purchase the food that I'm accustomed to eating. So I have to digress, and we're going to do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches all week because we need to save money. I know what that's like in my adult life as a man. I know what that is. Now that's just for me. Now it may sound selfish, but I said to myself, if I'm going through this, what in the world is a family going through?
I was just gonna say
that's in the same predicament that I'm in right now.
And they eat peanut butter and jelly and you don't eat dinner. That's what happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? Understand? Like they eat peanut butter and jelly and you don't. And I guarantee you there's people in your district that you would be representing who, as of Friday, are not getting the excess stimulus that they were getting before. And now they're worried. They are not sure how they're going to make ends meet. And having someone who's been there before, I can't think of a better person I want representing me. Is someone saying, I know what it's like to have to try to stretch out a pound of rice for an entire week because you literally have nothing. Like that is a real thing. And throw race and throw position and progressiveness and conservatism aside. If you know what that's like, that is a bonding area. We've talked about this multiple times, and you've said it today, is that 90% of the stuff we can all relatively agree about. It's a few little knickknacks that we don't agree about. Like, you really, really can spend some time and learn something about someone, and I definitely want people representing me. I've never been that way. I mean, my parents have done an amazing job. And in the downturn, my father, we were in a small business world, but we were associated in an industry that's kind of like it is now, essential. I was able to just keep things going. And I haven't lived that way. And so I can't say I know what it's like. But to tell you what, I do understand the importance of having someone that's experienced that, trying to make legislation and take care of those people. I mean, that is one of the most important things to me, is like you got to know what you're talking about. What do they say? Great writers write what they know. Great politicians, they write laws about things that they know. And you would write some great laws if given the chance. I really do think that.
Absolutely. And that's what I want to do, because at the end of the day, there are many gaps that need to be filled. And that is part of my main goal, is to bring the servitude back to the office. And like I was saying about those dirty politics, the Michigan Live, M Live, decided to post it up to make me seem criminal like. I didn't see the necessity of them posting it in their paper that I had that issue, because what literally happened to me was I was on my way to church, actually, and driving along the highway, and the Holland police were riding on the opposite side of the highway. I had just turned onto the highway. They saw me. They made the loop around. They came around, ran my tags. They were expired. They pulled me over. And then they put cuffs on me at the McDonald's on 8th Street here in Holland. They put cuffs on me, put me in the back of the car, and took me downtown and took mugshots of me and fingerprints that they didn't have, and then released me. I didn't go to jail or anything, but they did that and said, well, do you have someone that you can call to have them pick you up? So I had a friend of mine pick me up, and I said to them in the police station, I said, well, my car is still there. Are you guys planning on, towing my car, or what's going to happen with that? Oh, they put an orange tag on it. They said, well, you can just take your keys and just drive your car on home.
Oh my God.
Now you think about that. Now, this is what literally happened to me. Now, from my view, this is what I see. You don't have a mugshot of me, okay? You don't have fingerprints of me. Yes, I am driving with no insurance. Yes, I am driving with expired tags because of that reason. But also, I had suffered huge financial losses, and I was in financial disparity. And now I need help. But I'm getting brought into the police station when there's more things. I'm not causing an accident or anything. Yes, I know it's illegal to drive without insurance in the state of Michigan, but I couldn't afford it. And that's what it came down to.
Yeah.
And it was pay your rent, pay all your bills, or go ahead and get that insurance on your car. Okay. I had to make a decision. I made the best decision that I could at the time. So
it's probably the decision I would have made.
And now I'm dealing with, I got to go without for so many weeks, because now I have to pay this fine. I have to get insurance on my car and get the license tags as well. Okay. And then they posted that in M Live and put this picture of me up in there, just a random picture that I had taken. And they put this photo up, and in my mind's eye, you tried to present me as a criminal. You put me next to my opponent and try to make me look like a criminal. Those things hurt, okay? I'm not crying over it because I won't do it. But you know what I mean? But it's the idea of this systemic racism that is happening, that you feel that you need to vilify me to promote him. And that's why I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it because I was disturbed by that. And as a matter of fact, I had received a call here a few months ago from M Live saying, some of my friends that saw it all of them had the same idea. And I'm talking about white and black. You know what I'm saying? That saw this and they saw it for what it was. And they came to the same conclusion that I came to. Some of them sent out emails. Some of them complained about how it was done. And all we got was all these just, over the top responses from the reporter that did the report. She didn't talk to me personally, but she decided that she was going to post this. Well, it's the facts. It's the truth. And that's what we want out there. No, you did that to vilify me. You made my opponent look like an angel, tried to make me look like a devil that is trying to run for office to represent you. And there's so many people here that are so they're so steeped in their racism, and they try to tie all those things together with Christianity and all of these things to promote their true feelings. Mm-hmm. But I don't allow it to stop me, because at the end of the day, there's people here that need me. They do. And I need them. And at the end of the day, I want to make that difference for them, because those who have that privilege and that mentality, they're going to stay that way until they see something different, until they have some different experience. It's like, until you become sick, you don't know what it is to be sick. You don't know what it is to be hospitalized until you've almost lost your life. It changes your whole mentality when you have such traumatic experience. And for me, that's part of the things that I draw from. These are the things that make me stronger. These are the things that build my character. And like I tell people all the time, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I know what I know. And I stand firm on it. And I'm bold enough to say what needs to be said, regardless to how others may perceive it. It's my truth, and I plan to live it. And at the end of the day, like I said, we need diversity in Lansing. We need diversity of thought. We need those who, like you talked about, Chris, that are moderate, to come off the fence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And get on the bandwagon, because at the end of the day, the protests are necessary. That's the only way we're going to have change. Like, it was one of the guys that I met along the time when I was running. He's a lawyer, Hispanic guy. He posted something on Facebook. I'm trying to remember his name right now. Forgive me for that. But he posted something on Facebook that basically said in the 30s, it was against the law for a black person to own real estate in Holland.
Oh, the red laws. Yeah, the red districting or red line districting. Those kinds of things are incredibly common. There were areas and cities where you literally could not be an African American and buy property in those areas. There was zoning rules and zoning laws that were legal at the time. Like, it was segregated by law.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, those laws has changed. And that's what we need.
But the society around there was the society that still exists in a lot of these areas was created by those laws. Those laws may not be applicable anymore, but that world, that segregation, the separation, that kind of stuff still exists. And anything that challenges it, I know Chris and I have always been kind of challenging the status quo. I definitely think that that's always been kind of our thing. But in this area of the world, like, I know Chris is living it. I have an Ohio version, but in our end, like, we are the typical podcast white boys who are doing this stuff, and they're trying to make a change, trying to make a difference. And we agree with all kinds of things, but we love being able to bring someone on that has lived a life to a certain degree. And I mean, the story there, it does feel malicious with what MLive did to you. It does feel like somebody in a club said, listen, we need to do something. There's an endangered seat or whatever. Like, these kinds of setbacks and this kind of systemic stuff, it's stuff that we've seen, but we haven't experienced. But we definitely try our best to say, hey, this is the real thing, and we need to try to stop it. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
frustrating, but I know Chris, your world in Zealand and fighting the I guess what is it, the lawn sign wars. You haven't had too many things stolen out of your yard or anything like that, but like I know it's a big deal when you guys do anything outside the standards.
Well, and that's why when you get your signs, I'll be very excited to put them in my yard because, and it's kind of weird, you know, like in fairness, in my neighborhood, in the downtown area of Zealand, there actually is not a lot of Trump signs, weirdly enough. And maybe it's because, you know, it hasn't hit yet. There is a couple of Bradley signs up, but I could pick the houses up, and I've never gone to these houses, but there's houses like there. We have a sign in our yard that says there's no room for hate in Zealand, right? There's some lady that made this sign, and it has, you know, all the, you know, fists in the air, different colors, this thing and that. And
that's beautiful.
I like
you know,
those.
like she made, like my wife reached out to her and said, "Hey, I like this sign," because my wife is not as controversial as I am. Like, I mean, I would be the guy that has a sign that says F Trump, you know, or Trump's a racist, or, you know, most GOP people are racist. I would just put I start a conversation. Come to my house because I'll have you on the podcast. I'll just do an impromptu podcast. I got 3 mics.
Didn't you had a representative or somebody who was running for office come and you were like, I got a podcast. Let's do this, bro.
I did.
And he
and
just
he
never came through.
Never answered me.
Yeah.
But you know, like that's the thing is in my neighborhood, yes, technically it is definitely a conservative. Zealand's conservative. It is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like just the experience my kids have at school sometimes, you know, I feel bad because it's like I would rather live in a more diverse area because I'm giving you a safety net. We live in Zealand mainly because my wife grew up here and this is where her friends were, and I really don't care where I live to some extent, but it's not diverse enough for me. Like, but at the same time, now it's like, okay, you can tell on the street who supports what. Because the liberal houses in this neighborhood, they show their colors, especially during election time. And
they do.
I'll be happy to, as we move forward with the next 4 months, I'll be happy to do what it takes to help move the campaign forward. And I'm happy that there's somebody else that has the same passion I do, the same beliefs that I do, that's willing to go out there and say, hey, I'm willing to do this so I don't have to. Because I don't want to be this, you know, white savior guy that comes out. I don't need that, right? I could be happy to support other people that have diverse experiences. Holland and Zealand don't need me. They need somebody that has that. I mean, and I could give you 3 times in my life, and this is personal. Here we talk about your personal experience. 3 times in my life, once or twice with me, and once with my father, have all been pulled over for expired tags, and none of us have ever gotten taken to jail and then told to go home. And here, so I have and I have even a bigger story technically, but you know, like with just that, like my father was pulled over on St. Patrick's Day after he had to work all night, 3rd shift. Got pulled over. They thought he was drunk because he was half falling asleep. His tabs were expired for not 1 year, not 2 years, but 2.5 years, almost 3 years, almost 3 years. And they let him go with a warning. Now, you don't tell me that's not like white privilege there.
Yeah.
I was in Grand Rapids when I was 18, and I had 2 girls sitting in the front seat, both underage. I was 18. They were both 17. No seatbelts. I was downtown on Division, north of 28th Street. Got pulled over for rolling through a stop sign. Didn't have a front bumper. I had 2 illegal weapons in my car that and I'll be honest, I didn't know they were illegal. One was a double-bladed knife, which I guess is illegal, and the other one was 4 inches long. And I carried it just for safety in case anything ever happened. Also had an open 5th of liquor in the back seat in a backpack. I got pulled over. They searched my car. They wrote me 2 felony tickets and a misdemeanor ticket, and then told me to get back in my car and go home and don't get pulled over. Get that? 2 weapons. 2 weapons. Now, they're not guns, but they're still weapons. 2
Yeah.
felony charges I was given and never even taken to jail.
But I was cuffed, and I told the officer, I said, these cuffs are, I had never had cuffs on ever. It was the only time that happened, and I haven't had it since. And I thought to myself, these things really hurt,
Yeah.
because he put them all nice and tight, put my arms behind my back, and he put me in the back of the car, and I'm sitting there and I'm bumping around and going like so from side to side.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, man, why did I drive that car without insurance? Right. And then for me, that's why I was thinking on the way there, and not, well, I had to, I didn't have a choice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, because my life was still going on. I still had just gotten a job. I still needed to go to work. And that's why I was talking about the whole Christian aspect too. I was literally, in my dress clothes on my way to church. Okay. And for them to not only pull me over, but take me in and take my mugshot. See, from my view, they were profiling me. That's what that was. When they ran my name and they didn't see a record, they thought there's no way. And we need to get him in the system so that we'll be able to identify him if something happens in the future. See, this is what we deal with as Black men, okay, yeah, in this country, and Black women as well. And it's an unfortunate part of society. And then I'm not talking about in the South. I'm talking right here in Holland. Okay. Yeah. So it inspired me to, not only tell my story, but, when I heard the raise the age issues, which you guys are probably familiar with 13-year-olds in prisons, with
the United States is
population.
one of the, we're the only country that did not ratify the UN was it decree, basically that said that children should not be imprisoned and definitely should not be put to death. The United States is one of the only other ones. I think one of the other ones was a South American nation, but we are the sole world superpower or sole Western superpower that said, no, we can't do that. We have too many kids in jail right now that we couldn't say no to that. And so like they literally is a big deal in this country, children that are underage that are incarcerated. And obviously it's a majority minority population. Yeah.
And, and like I said, I'm not going to just go, because I can go on and on, but I promise you I won't. Because when I think about it, it disturbs my spirit. You know what I'm saying? And when you hear people are protesting, and when you hear people crying out, when you hear people are, dealing with the loss of a son or a daughter, you know what I mean, or parent because of this systemic issue, it's a problem, and like I said, at the end of the day, you can't change people's minds, but I definitely can help change the laws. And that's my aim. That is my goal. And I speak it because I know it can be done. And I know it will be done. And at the end of the day, I'm just grateful for you guys just listening alone. And even though you may not be able to understand all that I'm saying, you can empathize with me and put yourself in that position and get an idea of how would you feel if it happened to you. If it happened to you, not someone else, Yeah. And like I said, I don't have children, but my sister does. And they were a big part of my life. And one thing that I told my sister's children is that be careful. Plain and simple, be careful. If you have any problems, any trouble, don't engage. Leave that to us. Talk to me, talk to your mom, but don't, because we were afraid for them.
Yeah.
We were afraid for them, because you want to protect them from everything, but you literally just can't. And it's disheartening. And like I said, for me, Chris, when I talked about my education, I'm still seeking it to get my degree. I do have college credit. Now, don't get it wrong.
Cheers. Cheers.
I've
mate.
been to college, but my point is, I have to say that. But but the thing of it is, for somebody like me, I have to have a doctorate to seem like I have some kind of knowledge. But someone that barely made it out of high school and they're white, they're seen as more intelligent than me. That's another part of the racism. Instead of dealing with people on an individual base and an experience, you just automatically chalk it up to one thing or the other. This is part of the larger issue, and so for me, like I said, I'm so grateful for you guys because I'm here on the podcast with you guys hanging out tonight, and we're talking about stuff that really matters, and like I said, I tell people all the time, until it's in your face and until you're dealing with it, there's not going to be any changes. So I need the people of West Michigan to know that the reason why I'm here is not because I'm an angry black man, but I am a determined black man. Okay. And I am determined to leave my mark. And I am determined to do my best to serve the people of this state as their next state representative.
Love it.
Can I get an amen to that? Is an atheist? Am I allowed to say amen? I think that was the joke from last
amen.
Yeah.
So let it
Damn
be.
right. Damn right. Damn right.
Well, Christopher, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And
every time.
In fairness,
Every time.
You are 100% welcome to come on every week if you want.
Yeah.
For the next, as many times as you want. I'd say the next couple of years because I have no idea how long we'll do this for.
I'm coming back.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because the other episode I had put together was in response to people that don't like my defund the police statement. People hate that. People hate having the conversation that all cops are bad cops. People just don't like that conversation. Yeah. And I said something about statistics. And the guy goes, well, I want to see the statistic say all cops are bad cops. And I was like, well, they don't say that. But here's all the statistics that show that
on the
cops
system
are bad and that they're killing minorities at an aggressive rate and that they're killing people, period. No matter what race they are, at higher rates than almost every non-communist country in the world. And
highlights for the next episode.
It is, yeah. But you're you're welcome to come on
My
anytime
Dr. Dre
you want.
moment there.
I'm coming.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I like talking to you guys.
We love it.
There you go. And so as we wrap the show up, I'm Chris, you got 30 seconds, but tell everybody where they can get a hold of you at.
Okay. So you can go to the Facebook page. You can send me an email, cbanks490.com at gmail.com. cbanks4 FOR90TH at gmail.com. You can also go on my Facebook page. You can leave a message and I will respond to you as quickly as I can. Okay. Also too, I'm going to be doing some Zoom meetings here pretty soon. So I want to have some town hall style meetings with the people here in our area. So look out for that. I'll be posting it on Facebook as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and check out Christopher Banks for 90thdistrict.com. I have the links in the description because I butcher everything. Thank you all, though, and have an amazing night.